Hello, good morning, everyone. I am Rohan Prasad, and I'm a Master's of Science and Finance student at Suffolk University. I'm set to graduate this year in December. Um, I was part of Into Suffolk as well as of spring 2020. And I just wanted to share my journey and give you all a bit of tips and a bit of advice to on how to go about your journey here. And also to give you solid advice about how to work in teams because I think it will impact your day-to-day life in your university as you go on forward, and also heavily impact your day-to-day working in a working environment in the future, be it an internship or a full-time job. I think working in teams is really important, and I know a lot of us face a lot of difficulties when we travel from another country and come to a foreign land where they might speak a different language, they might speak the language in a different way. And a lot of us do face certain challenges and barriers, which I will talk about today and also give you some solutions to those. So I think it's time to go on ahead and dive deep into it. Um, on this slide, as you can see, I want to talk about certain challenges that people face, students face, international students when they come on to study various courses in the U.S. This is what I have experienced, and I have also researched and asked my peers about it while I was also at Into, and I did categorize them into four different areas. The first one would be language and communication barriers. The second would be cultural barriers. Third would be inertia. And fourth would be teamwork, logistics, or group dynamics, which need to be focused on. I will be explaining each of these barriers as we go on along and also be providing solutions to each of those so that you can implement them in your daily life. Okay, so when we first think about language and communication barriers, what what would you what would you think is the number one cause for these kind of barriers to happen to you? I would say it's probably nervousness, it's probably unfamiliarity to the new environment around you. It's probably because you probably are not as well versed in the language as others around you. But I would like to tell you not to be discouraged because at one point of time, English was not my first language either. I had to spend quite a few years talking with people, putting myself out there to be able to be confident in hosting this session for you today. And I feel having myself having seen myself go through that journey, and also a lot of my peers beside me, I think it's not an impossible task to be confident and communicate in English or with your peers or your professors or anyone in your life for that matter. Now, in order to tackle these language and communication barriers, I have certain list of tips and certain resources that you can have access to at Suffolk University. The first one would be to attend English language workshops at the Center for Learning and Academic Success. Now, I am a tutor at class, and I do provide tutor based services, but of course, there are other tutors as well who would specifically focus on English language skills and help you be more confident. The second option would be to join one of Suffolk University's clubs and organizations. The example would be the Suffolk Finance and Investment Club and also the American Association. Now, of course, there are a lot of other organizations which you can join as per your interest. These were just my examples. I have also added the links for both the class workshops and the universities and clubs and organizations on the slide. And I will be emailing it to you after this presentation in case any of you want to join it. The third advice that I would like to give you is at Into, and also when you go forward to your university experience at Suffolk University, you would be you would have the responsibility to create and present a lot of ideas in a group setting. You would have a lot of team members from other countries, people speaking different languages, who you have to work with on a daily basis. I know it might feel a bit hesitant, and you might feel a bit unsure before engaging in such an exposing activity. But I would encourage you to take more responsibility than you think you should, because the more you indulge yourself, the more you try to reach out to your teammates, the more you will feel comfortable in that situation and make also your teammates feel a bit more relaxed. And I think this is really important. And with more practice and the more and the frequency of you trying to reach out to people and taking more responsibilities in a group setting, you will definitely be more confident to converse in English and also perform your daily tasks, which involves a lot of communication for sure. The fourth point I would want you to remember is always practice speaking or asking questions in class. I know this can be daunting, because I myself, on in my first few days in the US as a student, was hesitant to ask anything in class, because maybe I wasn't sure of what people around me would think when I asked that question. Maybe I thought the question is too stupid. Maybe I thought the question is just not up to the mark of the professor. But I realized after a point of time that if I do not ask anything, I'm not going to know anything. So there's no you have nothing to lose. Just be there, be present, put yourself out there and try to ask those questions. Talk to your peers, talk to the students who are sitting beside you. It's all right. Nobody's going to judge you. We're not here to judge you. We're all here to learn and grow. And uh, and now I'm going to move on to other barriers that I mentioned before. When we talk about cultural barriers in the US, it does it's a lot of things, but I'll try to narrow it down so that you can relate to it better. Now, on the right, you definitely see a picture of someone who is leaning on another person while trying to talk to them. And of course, this might be a bit of an exaggeration, but what we're trying to put across here is that in the US, personal space is considered a really important characteristic that people must abide by in a workplace or a university. And this might not just relate to personal space physically, but also personal space relating to certain questions. In the US and in a lot of other countries, but in the US specifically, you would not want to ask your peers or someone in the university as a professor a certain question which might relate to their personal life, because this could be deemed as being too personal and people would not appreciate it. So I suggest you to keep those communications quite professional and to the point. If he's your friend, of course you can talk about a lot of other things. But if he or she or they or them are your uh, seniors at university and they're helping you at a certain assignment, I don't think you should indulge in a lot of topics outside of things related to your task. But of course, please judge the situation and environment before you can engage in that conversation. Another thing that I realized while being in the US is that people really take emailing really seriously. Back in my country, uh, the power of speaking to one another physically holds a lot more value than written communication. And I did learn it the hard way. In my first few days, I was not checking my Suffolk email regularly. I missed a lot of important information. And then I realized that and I always expected that if I emailed someone, they would take a lot of time or probably not check it, because that's what my thought process was back then. But I did realize that the email is way more powerful than we originally think, and how we can use it to our advantage. Then I would definitely recommend you to, I know this might sound cliche, but please check your emails regularly. Try to reach out to people using your email. And yeah, I hope these small things can, create some good habits for you in the long run. Then I would try to I'm going to now talk about certain other issues, other solutions that you can tackle to get used to these cultural barriers, and also familiar, make yourself more comfortable in the surrounding. As I mentioned before, participate inside and outside the classroom. Inside the classroom, I know the professors are trying to teach you a certain topic, but whenever you get the chance, try to raise your hand, try to ask a related question, try to communicate with the peer sitting beside you who you probably do not talk to a lot, or try to make new friends. Outside the classroom, there are a lot of events at Into that take place on a daily basis. It could be social events, it could be a games night. And I know it might seem as not something that does not add to your um, building blocks of your personality, but trust me, being part of those will help you loosen up and give you a better sense of belonging to this community. I would then recommend you to also volunteer to tackle various natural, social, and environmental and political issues. Of course, not being politically biased here, but could be related to any of those things, and get involved in the Boston community. Boston is a really great city with a lot of students, with a lot of industries, and a lot of things to do. So just open Google, search whatever you want to do, and physically go there, and of course talk to them in English. Try to, even if you're a bit nervous, just talk. They do see a lot of tourists, they do see a lot of people who've come to the US for the first time, and you will get better, you will get more confident, so it's not your problem anymore. And another resource that I would like to draw your attention to is the Into Home Away from Home program, which basically teams you up with a buddy from the US, and he or she or they or them would be a student in Boston, and they would be from the US. So if you team up with them and try to spend a little bit more time with an American colleague or a peer, I think you would feel more confident to implement that across other areas of life as well. So I hope that was beneficial for you. And now I'm going to move on to other barriers. I would just like to draw your attention to this picture on the screen, and I know it might seem a bit plain and not have a lot of meaning at first, but I would just like to explain why this picture is here under the word inertia. Now, the word inertia actually refers to a certain um, chemical reaction which was determined by certain scientists, but the inertia here that I'm talking about is human inertia and the tendency to always be around certain individuals who have similar characteristics. Now, when I say that, I mean if a person is from a certain country and you find other students in in and around your course who are also from this similar area, you would try to be more comfortable around them and feel a bit unsure for when you're talking to people who are not from that country. And I think the human brain, makes this feel like a comfort zone for you. But I would encourage you to not be part of this kind of a scenario and be one of the people, as you see in the picture, just stuck in that loop, and also just do the daily tasks as they were doing for a long time, and talk about the similar things as they have been talking about for a long time as well. I would encourage you to meet different people, do different things, and just get out of your comfort zone. And I know it might sound a bit erratic and very sudden, but getting out of your comfort zone doesn't have to be an um, extreme task or something immediate that you have to do. I'll talk about the various steps that you can follow to get out of this circle and just live your life a bit better, in case you were having any problems of communicating with people. Now, on this slide, I would talk to you about the various parts of how you could get out of your comfort zone and gradually move towards your goals of being confident around people. Now, while you are at Into, you will see a lot of alumni and people who have studied at the university would come to talk to you about their experience. I would recommend you to attend those events and also speak to them about how they and see how they have themselves gone through that journey of meeting with new people, because they themselves had also come just like you to a new country and did not know a lot of people. So being there with them, talking to others, would definitely help you get yourself out there. I already mentioned about the clubs and organizations, and you don't have to do this alone. You can, bring your own friends, you can bring your own peers, and help them also get out of their comfort zone and make them a bit more confident as well. I know that at Into, there are certain uh, times where you may not find an internship or work outside university. I would I would encourage you to not be discouraged by this and look within Suffolk University, where you can reach out to professors, seek research opportunities from them, and also build your own skills and techniques which will help you in order for you to get those opportunities later on in the future. And even if you do not wish to work currently in in a company outside of the university, I would recommend you to visit or be part of a career fair or a networking fair where you could meet employers and recruiters who are probably from the US and they are local American people. So if you reach out to them and talk to them, you will feel a bit more confident and less intimidated while meeting other American professionals in the near future. And I think it's going to prepare you really well for your future career fairs on which your jobs do depend on. You could work on campus as well. Reach out to your Into supervisors, reach out to your academic advisor. You could work as a tutor. Of course, this is after your first semester, once you have spent a bit of time. You could be part of Suffolk's administration. You could learn various skills within Suffolk without having to work outside. So it is all there. You just need to be present and a little more confident in terms of trying to find out what you like. You can also be part of a research team or probably even lead it at Suffolk University. I would like to give you an example of how I did that. In the fall semester of 2020, I received a random email from my academic advisor of the fact that there was a research challenge for CFA, which is the Chartered Financial Analyst Institute of the world. And they wanted to build a team of 5 people from Suffolk University. I know I could have easily ignored that email because it's just something I had to volunteer to, but I did. But I did not ignore it. I responded to it. I made a team. My team members were 4 other people from different parts of the world. They all had a few different dialects of English and a bit of a different accent when you talk to them. And it was a bit unique because before that point, all my group presentations were usually my friends who I've been talking to every day. But after that point, I did realize that when you speak to people who are slightly different than you get to listen to ideas that are slightly different than what you think every day. You can think about the same thing in a different way. Some of the friends really taught me something as basic as getting certain Excel functions a bit faster than before. So working with these people from different places and having different languages as their first language, I think you could open yourself not just to be confident to talk with them, but also build your own skills in the long run. I'll just move on to this slide. And I know this picture might seem a bit complex to you with all the colors and a lot of things written on it, but I would like you to focus on the left and extreme portion of the picture where it says it's your comfort zone. Now, when I earlier mentioned that I want you to get out of your comfort zone and maybe, attend a conference with a lot of people and speak in English and be confident, I didn't want you to do that on the first day. I wanted you to slowly build your confidence by engaging in certain relatively higher difficulty tasks, such as maybe being part of a group discussion in your class and not in a large audience. Maybe go on a speaking tour around the campus with another friend who you do not talk to. You might not know that person. He might be very fluent in English, but just by hanging out with them and hanging out with others, you can slowly uh, build your comfort zone to be a little wider than before, so that a little more challenging tasks that you might have considered as a panic button for you might be now more relatively easier and more comfortable for you. And if you keep doing these small things, your comfort zone will expand, and in a matter of time you would not even realize that things that you've earlier considered to be frightful to you are now something that is challenging but not impossible. Now, coming back to teamwork and how to make teams work at the university level, I would give you certain tips and just certain reminders of how to maintain efficiencies while working in a team. Uh, Before doing any task, I would want you to know that one person, of course, an individual is important, but one man or woman or uh, someone else could not do everything alone. You do need people in your life. You do need help, and you do need a bit of support. So, inculcating certain principles of teamwork will help you to build these skills, and which will definitely impact your career later on. At university, I want you to make teamwork a priority and also reward teamwork. If you have a certain task which you think you could do it alone, but you would need a bit of help, I want you to be the person to reach out to someone else and ask them if they want to work on something with you. And if you think that they did positively impact your work, I want you to celebrate that. I want you to let them know that their help was appreciated. And I'm sure that in the near future, they would also reach out to you something for something else, and also celebrate another success that you could celebrate together. It's really important when you're working in a team to clarify roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities separately for each and every person. In absence of this, it would create a huge mix up, which could lead to a lot of conflicts and bitter talks, which we do not really want. So, before you take on this group presentation or a group work, I want you to make sure every team member knows exactly what they're doing, and also what would be the result if one of the team members did not perform their required tasks. And this would, of course, only be possible if you set clear goals rather than vague goals. I would request you to be a bit more specific in terms of what each team member should want to do and is expected to do. I know a lot of people would have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. Instead of focusing on the weaknesses, I would want you to focus on their strengths, because that is what will help you create a better group dynamic, rather than focusing on certain weaknesses, as that could bring about some negative feelings. Be a bit more positive and look towards the good side. You would definitely make group decisions better, because in order to make a decision, you need to have a variety of ideas in a group setting. Something that you might first think could be contradicted by someone else, and you might soon later realize that the contradiction actually does make sense. And this is why making decisions in a group becomes a bit better, because every decision is refined by a uh, set of people who question it, argue about it, think about it, and then reach a conclusion. So the information that you get at the end is filtered information, and it is foolproof to any kinds of cracks or uh, any shortcomings. Now, of course, working in a team would require trust, and you would also want to get to know each other better. Without trust, you do not expect any of your team members to do the tasks they are allocated to. So I would want you to trust each one of them, and also trust yourself to be able to effectively and honestly communicate with each other. You could also use various websites and various applications and software such as Microsoft Teams, GroupMe, or Slack, which will help you to get familiar with these tools, as a lot of firms currently use it. And speaking with personal experience, I was not really well versed with Microsoft Teams, but I recently started a summer internship, and they do most of the work on Teams. So I really wished that I had done some training in certain of these tools, which would definitely prepare me better for the tasks to come ahead. Now, I know I've probably mentioned some of this before, but I would like to explicitly mention it again, of how you could just take these simple things and convert it into a good team presentation or a group presentation. You have to be honest, you have to share the workload, you have to be fair, you have to be reliable, because without being reliable, your teammates won't trust you. You need to complement other skills. If you have a certain skill which is maybe more technical, you could try to help your teammate who is maybe not well versed in technical skills, and also learn some other things which he is good at. And this would just create a symbiotic environment in which you're learning but also helping others learn. This would definitely, and if you do follow these things, I'm sure this would lead to a good set of communication skills for you. And at the end of the day, it's all about keeping a positive attitude, and also an, a goal to make things better for for your confidence and for your communications as we move on. Now, before I end this presentation, I would just like to mention some last pointers which I have understood about for which I have understood over these course of 1.5 years at Suffolk University. You need to interact with people, and only interacting with more people will help you get better at interacting with people. If you do not do that, you would feel a certain sense of absence in your skills on in a daily life. So I would recommend you to take every opportunity that you get to interact with more and more people, so that it becomes easier for you. The second most important thing that I've learned over these last few years is that students make mistakes, and uh, they're supposed to make mistakes. Even in this presentation, I might have misspelt a few words here and there, but I guess it's okay, because this is not the end of life or anything like that. I know there's going to be a lot more presentations beyond this which I would be conducting. So even if I was nervous to talking to an audience who I don't know before, I think it's important that one must step up to the task and be confident in doing what you're trying to do, instead of thinking about what would happen if you made a mistake. And of course, as I mentioned before, you could take certain gradual steps to get out of your comfort zone, instead of just jumping to your goal and be discouraged, which will frighten you a bit and get back. So take smaller steps and slowly grow out of that zone and grow your skills and your comfort levels. And of course, I would want you to celebrate differences and diversity with the people around you. People speaking a little differently, people might be thinking a bit differently, but I would not want you to be alienated from that, but I want you to be encouraged towards that, and just celebrate it. um, I would like to thank you for your time and your patience as I walk you through this set of slides, for encouraging you on how to build your teamwork skills. And I would be really happy if you would fill this survey and just let us know how this video was for you and the session was for you. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.